Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Kuri, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. Today was absolutely difficult to log onto the app. They must have been doing some sort of update. So I couldn't log on and I couldn't believe what was going on. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get access to the episodes? Then I thought, what if my account is blocked? And then I went to Spotify. The actual podcast is still on, and went to Audible, and I looked and it was there. So I thought, what is going on? And I was trying to log in so I can make a recording. So I was really panicked and I didn't know what to do. I was trying to get in touch with some of the people at Spotify to see what was going on. But I then got busy with clients and speaking. So I wanted to make it a podcast episode. So I came on, logged on and got in. So they must have been doing some sort of update. So very, very happy to be doing this. So I've had some few calls and we were touching on some really cool stuff. It's really following on from yesterday. And this episode really is how to regain her respect. And I think this is one of the biggest things when it comes to changing a sexless relationship. A lot of guys, they know that, in fact, they focus on getting sex, but really sex isn't the problem. The problem is that you've lost respect from her. And the issue is that when we start pushing more in order to get more sex, you can see that the things that you're doing right now are not actually going to help you. And they might help you initially because it's the first thing that most people do is do more date nights, try and spend more time. But if you're spending more time with that person that has lost respect for you, they lose even more respect for you because whatever is triggering them, it's going further and further deeper. I'm laughing because sometimes the things that we think is the thing that we need to do in order to fix a sexless relationship is probably so more destructive than actually not doing anything. So without going further down a different rabbit hole, really, how do you really regain respect? We have to also look at what causes us to lose respect. Most of the times, and 9 times out of 10, is this. Most people implode under emotional pressure. So going back to what we spoke about yesterday, where a lot of people, in fact, I'm now convinced that more than not, a lot of the issues that you're facing come back to the fact that your interactions with your mum, where you wanted to really be the best boy, the most industrious boy, in order to make your mum really happy. And when she's happy, you get affection and you get validation. So you've got this set template, and it's not just people that are in sexless relationships. In fact, most relationships, there's this dynamic that's happening, and vice versa. On her side, it could be dad, it could be mom, but there's some sort of validation stuff that's going on. And when your partner is having an emotional turmoil of some sort, you feel like you're the white knight, you're going to be industrious. If you can fix this, somehow that's going to translate in you getting closer, you getting validation, you getting sex. So we then tend to be slave to her emotional waves, for example. So the wave comes in, and then when it goes down, we're just in limbo with this. And this is one of the things that she ends up losing respect for you then, because then at that point you're not somewhere where she can rely on in terms of respect. She's not somewhere where she can rely on in terms of you leading the relationship, because she becomes the leader of the relationship. And a lot of the fact that she's leading based off of the emotions, it makes you look like you are a failure, because when emotions are very fluid, one moment you're happy, next moment you're sad, next moment you're happier again. So again, because you're yo-yoing, you're not being your true self, you're not giving your opinions and what you think is true, and you're not operating out of true self. And a lot of it then one client said something that was interesting. Said it's, in a way, also ends up becoming kind of like a manipulation, because I'm going to be whatever you need for me to end up getting what I want, which is really textbook manipulation. Whereas if you are much more making decisions that are beneficial for the relationship, beneficial for yourself, beneficial for the contributing to a greater plan, usually that would cause I'm not going to be dictated by the emotions. I'm going to be dictated by what I think is right for the relationship, what I think the relationship needs to be going, and I'm using my leadership for us to see where that needs to be. And again, it falls under the dominance thing that I was telling you guys about in a few episodes ago, that dominance is made out of 3 parts that you have to be able to protect. So with the decisions that I'm going to be making, are they protecting us? Are they protecting our relationship? Are they protecting our children? And then the other bit is being able to have foresight, future planning. So is this decision I'm making in line with the things that we've planned and where we need to go? And then the other bit is resilience. So I know that you are upset right now, or you are trying to force this issue emotionally, but internally I'm bold and resilient enough not to fold under your pressure. So a lot of guys end up failing on these parts, and because you're failing to show dominance, you're failing to show leadership, then she loses respect for you, and she loses respect for a relationship. Now, when I say you're not making decisions, you're making decisions, but the decisions are bad because you're reinforcing the fact that you do not have, you are not the solid place where she can rely on to make the decisions. So she has to make the decisions. And I think there was a good analogy that one of the clients said, and I thought that was brilliant. Because I love dogs, but he liked taking it to training a puppy, that when he was training his puppy, they had to do this discipline stuff where they to make decisions for this puppy, and they had to be decisive in order to be divisive. So while the puppy was resistant to the decisions over a period of time, because when you make those decisions with your partner is going to be resistant to them. She's going to want to get her own way. And again, it doesn't matter where she's from, whether she's a daddy's little girl who's always had decisions go her way, or whether she's always put up tantrums in order to get her own way, or whether she's used emotional pressure on previous partners in your case, when you can make good decisions over and over, some of them she might not like them. And again, you have to get to that point where you're prepared for you to make decisions that are going to be unpopular, and you'd be okay to make those unpopular decisions. And I think this is probably summing up the whole podcast episode, that when you get to the point where you can make good decisions that are collaborative, that are of insight, you're seeing where this thing's going to go, where it's to protect the family, protect the relationship, for you have opportunities to grow. When you make those decisions with those parameters and you do that consistently, what you do is that you start stacking really good decisions where she doesn't like it, and then she sees the outcome being good. All of a sudden she goes, okay, I see what he's doing. He made that decision, I didn't like it, but it's turned out to be good. Therefore, she'll say, okay, let's see what happens with the next decision. And then all of a sudden you're stacking these really good decisions over a period of time. And what happens in time is that you start respecting, and she starts respecting you and respecting, in fact, releasing any desire of being a leader and actually wanting to follow. Because again, I see this all the time. Every place I go, everybody's waiting for somebody else to lead. I remember once I was at a wedding, and they took out these sprinklers. I think that's what they call it. No, sparklers. Sorry, these are you put them, you switch them on. They're they got sort of gunpowder, and then they sparkle. And one of them fell on the bride's sister, who was in a wheelchair, and then she caught fire. And then she screams, "I'm on fire!" And everybody just looked like somebody else do something, and I was quick to just swatch the fire and took it out. At the moment, nobody was willing to take the opportunity. Now, it makes me sound like I'm boasting that I'm some sort of leader, but it's the fact that at my home, I've got it down packed where I'm practicing being a leader, making decisive decisions and making those decisions pretty quickly and effectively. And when I do so, as my wife respects me, that is a translatable skill that you can have anywhere around, wherever you go. And in that wedding, all of a sudden everybody looked like, oh my God, that guy actually made that decision. You can imagine how my wife felt when I made that decision and acted on that pretty quickly. She was like, okay, that's my man who's just done that, you know. And that's what I'm trying to say, that it stacks on each other to the point where she respects you and she respects your leadership. And one thing that it does, and coming back to that dog analogy, is that when it's a puppy and you start giving it this discipline and you're making these decisive decisions, what you're trying to do is stack these good decisions over a period of time. It respects you, and once the dog starts respecting you, one thing that is interesting happens is that because it's relinquished any other control and puts you in full control, it gives that dog an opportunity to be able to relax around you. So sometimes when you've got a dog, you sit down, the dog sits beside you, they feel so relaxed that they go and sleep. And I see that not just dogs, my cat is the same. Our cat feels more comfortable and relaxed when they sleep a lot, but our cat generally comes and sits close to us, any of us in the family, and then just relaxes. And it's the exact same thing. But the moment that she can trust your leadership, she can trust that you got it under control, all of a sudden she gives you that opportunity to it gives you the opportunity to relax, and for her to actually start wanting to explore more within the relationship rather than focusing on decision making. And a lot of you guys, you're stuck on this surface level stuff when you can be dealing with the stuff that's beneath the ice. And again, in terms of long-term success, this is one of the main focuses in order to change and really regain respect in terms of your relationship. So thank you very much, guys, for listening. Hopefully this was impactful for you guys. It's something that we're working in with the Reignited Men, and obviously there's stuff that I couldn't include because of the time. But if you got any questions and you've got questions about your relationship, go to thriving_tribesmen as an Instagram, and you can tell me about your relationship. Then I can make an episode telling you exactly what you need to do. So thank you very much, guys. I'll be speaking to you guys soon. Take care.